Let's stop pretending. You're not broke because of the government. You're not broke because of your parents. You're not broke because of your job, boss, or the economy. You're broke because of your decisions, your habits, your patterns, your mindset. That's the truth no one says out loud, because it's easier to blame, easier to complain, easier to scroll through your life pointing fingers than to stop and say, I did this. And until you own that truth, you'll stay broke, not just in your bank account, but in your mind, in your discipline, in your vision. Because being broke is never just about money. It's about mentality. It's about how fast you trade your future for momentary pleasure. It's about how quickly you chase comfort, while success requires discomfort. It's about how easily you settle for crumbs when you were born to build a kingdom. No one taught you that in school. They didn't teach you how to think. They taught you how to follow, how to take tests, check boxes, and aim for just enough. They trained you to survive, not to build wealth. And now here you are, grown, capable, intelligent, but still living with the habits of survival when you were created for abundance. Let that sink in. You're not broke because you can't make money. You're broke because every time money enters your life, it becomes chaotic. No plan, no system, no identity strong enough to manage it. Because the truth is, money doesn't change you. It amplifies you. And if you're broke inside, if you're undisciplined, impulsive, scattered, scared, money will only make it louder. You don't need more income. You need more structure. You need vision. You must stop treating your wallet like a garbage can for your feelings, because every dollar is a decision. And if you don't tell your money where to go, it will leave faster than it came. You don't need another raise. You need restraint. You need to look at your spending and ask yourself, is this feeding my ego or building my future? That's the line. And most people live on the wrong side of it. They chase the lifestyle. They lease the car. They buy the shoes. They decorate the cage of their financial prison. And then they wonder why they can't breathe. You're still broke because you think wealth looks like spending. But real wealth? It looks like self-control. It looks like delayed gratification. It looks like walking past the impulse. It looks like being more addicted to freedom than to flexing. And it's hard. It's hard to tell your friends, no. It's hard to say, I can't afford that yet. It's hard to walk in humility while everyone else is chasing applause. But that's why most people stay broke, because they're more afraid of looking broke than being broke. So they play rich. They perform. They hide behind filters and financed lifestyles. And underneath it all, they're drowning. You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be honest. Because if you can't look your financial truth in the face, you'll never earn your way out of it. You will work harder and harder and still stay in the same place. Not because you're not trying, but because you haven't transformed. This isn't about hustle. It's about healing. Healing from the lies. That money is evil. That you're not worthy. That you'll always be behind. That wealth is for them, but not for you. You're still broke because deep down, you haven't decided you're done living like this. You've wished. You've hoped. You've tried. But you haven't decided. And until you do, nothing changes. But the moment you decide fully, violently, permanently, you will start acting like someone who's already free. You will walk past distractions. You will budget like it's sacred. You'll invest in your mind, your body, your craft, not just your image. Because wealth isn't built in moments. It's a built-in mindset. And the broken version of you, it's not your identity. It's your starting point. But you'd better make sure it's not your final one. The problem isn't that you're broke. The problem is you started to believe that's who you are. But being broke is a condition, not your character. It's a phase, not your identity. And yet, if you wear it long enough, if you talk like it, walk like it, expect it, you become it. Not because you are cursed, but because you are conditioned. Conditioned to fear money, to waste it, to chase it, and then run from it, to sabotage it every time it gets too close. Because deep down, you never believed you could hold it. You were taught how to earn just enough to stay afloat. But no one ever taught you how to become a container for wealth. Because wealth doesn't come to people in need. It comes to the ready, to the one who's built the habits, the structure, the muscle to hold pressure, power, and responsibility without breaking. You're still broke because every time life gives you more, you don't know what to do with it. So you panic, you spend, you distract, you sabotage. Not consciously, but instinctively, because the subconscious mind will always return to what's familiar, even if it hurts, even if it's broken, even if it's destroying your future. And until you retrain it, until you rewire your beliefs about money, about worth, about what's possible, you will never escape the cycle. More income won't fix it. New opportunities won't fix it. Winning the lottery won't fix it. Because your identity will always find a way to prove itself right. And if your identity says, I'm broke, I'm bad with money, I'll never get ahead, then it doesn't matter what you touch. You'll burn it all down to match the picture you've been carrying. That's the absolute poverty. It is not in your bank account or your blueprint. You've been programmed to survive, to expect struggle, to normalize pain, to tolerate chaos, to accept just enough and call it humble. But there is nothing humble about poverty, nothing noble about the struggle you are never meant to carry. You are born to create, to multiply, to build, to bless others, but you can't pour from an empty account. And you'll never be free until you believe you can be. You're still broke because you haven't permitted yourself to be abundant, not to impress, not to flex, but to impact. To build a kind of life where you don't just pay the bills, you pay it forward, where you're not just surviving, you're leading, but leadership requires mastery, not just the skill of self, and that means discipline, not just in what you do, but in what you allow. Every swipe of your card is a vote. Every dollar you spend is a declaration. You're either building freedom or feeding the dysfunction that keeps you stuck. Because make no mistake, broke is a system. It's not just personal, it's cultural. And if you don't break the cycle, you'll pass it down to your children, to your community, to the next generation, who will look at your life and learn what's normal. So ask yourself, what are you normalizing? Impulse? Debt? Scarcity? Excuses? Or structure? Vision? Restraint? Legacy? Because at some point, you have to decide, what story am I going to rewrite? You don't need more hacks. You need more honor for the life you're called to live. You need to treat your money like it matters. You need to stop spending like you hate your future. You must stop waiting to be rescued and rise as your answer. Because nobody's coming. And that's not bad news, that's freedom. Because it means it's on you. And if it's on you, then it's in your hands. And if it's in your hands, then it can change. But only if you're willing to do what broke people won't. Think long. Act slow, delay pleasure, invest in wisdom, reject entitlement, walk away from crowds who cheer for your weakness and mock your growth. That's what separates the wealthy from the broke. Not cash, not a chance, not college, but commitment. A commitment to never again be the version of you who settles for scraps, who worships fast money, who trades destiny for dopamine. That person has to die, so your future can live. You don't fix broke by working harder. you fix. Broke by thinking deeper. Because the truth is, hustle without alignment is just movement without meaning. It's an effort without elevation. It's doing more, but becoming less. And that's the trap they don't tell you about. That you can grind 14 hours a day and still stay broke. Because it's not about how much you move. It's about where you're headed. You can't outwork a broken vision. You can't outearn a lack of identity. You can't build wealth on a foundation of chaos. You're still broke because you've been running without direction, reacting instead of designing, spending instead of stewarding, trying to fix external lack without healing the internal limit. This is why vision matters, not as a dream, but as a discipline. Because when you see clearly who you're becoming, you stop entertaining what doesn't align. You stop funding distractions. Stop saying yes to what drains you just to look like you're keeping up. You're not here to keep up. You're here to break out. And to break out, you must first lock in. Lock into your vision. Lock into your values. Lock into a future that scares you and start walking toward it anyway. Because vision isn't what you post on a mood board. It's what you prove through behavior. It's what shows up in your daily decisions. The budget you follow when no one's watching. The habits you protect. The temptations you deny. How you carry yourself, like you already know who you're becoming. That's wealth. Wealth isn't what you have, it's who you are. And who you are determines what you attract. Not just financially, but also emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. You're still broke because you haven't raised your internal thermostat. You keep trying to install wealth on a system wired for scarcity. A system that panics when things go right. That self-destructs when abundance shows up. That keeps searching for how, but never fixes who. The strategy is identity. The tactics don't matter if the person using them doesn't believe they're worthy of the results. Because money follows certainty, not arrogance. Alignment. Alignment with your values, your vision, your standard. But standards don't rise by accident. They rise through discipline. And that's why most people stay broke. Because discipline is quiet. It doesn't reward you in the moment. It doesn't feed your ego. It doesn't go viral. But it builds a life that does. It builds the financial reality that doesn't bounce with your emotions. The kind of future that doesn't depend on luck or someone else's approval. The steady kind, rooted, unshakable. And you don't get that by spending when you're stressed, by scrolling when you should be studying, by numbing your pain with purchases that only deepen your prison. You get that by becoming someone different, someone with vision, someone with patience, someone who knows that wealth is not a reward, it's a reflection of how deeply you've mastered yourself. So master your attention, master your moorings, master your spending, master your emotions, master your hunger to prove, and turn it into hunger to build. Because you are not born to be broke. You are born to be a builder of systems, of peace, of order, of impact. But none of that comes if you live for the next dopamine hit, the next impulse, the next treat yourself leaves you emptier than before. The truth? You don't need to treat yourself. You need to lead yourself. And leadership is a daily grind. It's saying no when everyone else says yes. It's choosing legacy over likes. It's making decisions your future self will thank you for, not escape from. Because every dollar you spend is a seed. Every habit you protect is a foundation. And every time you delay gratification, you are building a future most people will never know. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't. But you are not like most people. You are not broke because you're cursed. You're not broke because of your zip code, background, or upbringing. You are broke because you haven't yet decided you're done living that way. Because when you decide, the world shifts. Not immediately, but undeniably, your walk changes. Your words change. Your calendar changes. Your circle changes. Your standards? They rise so high that anything below them feels like an insult. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop negotiating with mediocrity. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to comfort. You stop looking for handouts and start building from the inside out. And yes, people will question you. They'll say you've changed. And you have, thank God you have. Because the version of you who used to live for Fridays and fear Mondays, that version is gone. The one who spent to feel better, gone. The one who waited for someone to fix it, dead and buried. In their place stands you, disciplined, determined, deliberate. A storm in slow motion. A mind so focused, your bank account has no choice but to rise to meet it. You stop hoping for wealth. You become it. In your thoughts, in your actions, in the way you treat every dollar like a vote for your destiny. Because now you know, success isn't sexy, it's sacred. It's not about speed, it's about alignment. It's not about showing off, it's about showing up. You no longer chase money, you attract it. By becoming someone who doesn't need to prove. By becoming someone who builds quietly and lives freely. Because that's the real flex. Not what you wear, not what you post, but the peace you carry. The kind of peace that comes from knowing that your bills are paid. Your future is funded. Your habits are locked in. Your children are covered. And your legacy is moving with or without applause. That's wealth. And you don't get there by accident. You get there because you refuse to die broke. You refuse to die in a mindset you didn't choose. You refuse to pass down habits that rob the next generation of power. This is your line in the sand. No more half decisions. No more broken language. No more playing small in rooms built for giants. No more impulse spending just to feel momentarily alive. No more budgeting your vision to fit other people's comfort zones. From this moment forward, you are the one who changes everything. You are the curse breaker, the wealth builder, the blueprint for what's possible. So stop saying, I'm broke. Start saying, I'm becoming consistent, becoming focused, becoming unstoppable, becoming the kind of person your future self thanks God you dare to become. Because now, there's no more mystery, no more excuses, no more waiting. You know precisely why you are broke. And now, you know exactly how never to be again.